Welcome back to WeakT Gaming. What's up, YouTube? Today's video is taken from our Torment Tides of Numenera live streams. If you're not familiar, Torment is an isometric RPG that includes a lot of reading, so please sit back, enjoy story time, and give us a like or a comment on the video at the end. Oh man, let's get to it, huh? Let's get in there. I grabbed Pop-Tarts as though I was going to be able to eat. And then I remembered that this game is all reading. Okay. So there's still this thing. It's a puzzle to solve. But I'm not.
Yes.
I think we just remember that we have a puzzle that we haven't solved. We haven't talked to this person. A new person to talk to. All right. The thin young man smiles hesitantly as you approach. You notice a small metallic ovoid protruding from his skull, nearly hidden by his disheveled hair. The fingers of his left hand tap nervously on his legs as he speaks. I'm not a real priest yet, he blurts, then blushes. If that's what you were thinking. Usually visitors only talk to me because they think I'm a priest, but I'm still a novice. He plucks at a threadbare spot on his robes. Hey, what's going on with your forehead, bro? It's not just on my forehead, he says. Not just the skin, I mean. It's bonded with my skull. He blinks at you a few times before he realizes he hasn't answered your question. It keeps me awake and alert. I don't get tired until it runs out of power. Alright, well, what powers it? Dreams, he says. The scarier ones, the better. I can't remember the last time I had a good dream, actually. I'm sure it's just coincidence, though. Cool, you should take that out of your head. What's your area of study? What? He says, blinking, straightening. You want to know what I'm working on? Are you sure? Absolutely. I'm designing an intelligence, he says, but not the normal kind. Not just metal or with a dependent intelligence rigging system. No, it's larger than that. Stronger. Lan himself seems to be getting stronger, rising as he speaks. You hadn't noticed before, but he is actually taller than you. Ooh. The idea is this: an intelligence that can find, test, identify, and fully understand Numenera. We can unlock the secrets of lost civilizations. His eyes are gleaming now, and he raises a trembling fist. Do you understand? If we do this, we can break the chains binding us to the past, and turn them into reins with which to steer the future. Can't help noticing that your plan is long on rhetoric and short on specifics. That seems useful. No one would get hurt testing Numenera on themselves. Wouldn't having a machine test the Numenera take all the fun out of playing with them? Let's go with the medium answer. Seems useful. Oh, he says, dropping his righteous fist. Clearly this benefit has never occurred to him. Of course. The fervent gleam slowly fades from his eyes. It's only a theory, though, for now. I don't have the funding, not yet. But I've been studying machines with men when he can spare the time, and he likes my ideas, even if he thinks they're impossible. He looks away. I think he's disappointed I'm not a real Aeon priest yet. I should have the money by now. I was told they'd keep paying me even after the first time. Impossible seems harsh. And inaccurate, he says, regaining some of his lost fervor. Once I'm an Aeon priest, everything will change. Only full Aeon priests have access to the Order's funds. I can use them to build a full prototype. Min might protest, but he'll understand once I get the design right. He licks his lips. They're dry, almost leathery. I just need to get it right, that's all. Well, what do you need to do to become an Aeon priest? You have to make a major discovery, he says. A mystery that's remained unsolved for a long time. But I've spent too much time on my own research. He looks down at his feet. I haven't gotten anywhere. Man, my sinuses are goofy today. I'll tell you about something I've discovered. You can claim it as your own. You will, he says, blood draining from his face. Is that allowed? Do you want to join the order or not? I do. I really do, he says. What discoveries have you made? What sort of discoveries will help you? Really major ones, he says, looking frustrated. The causes of long-standing problems in the city, for example. Or solving a mystery that's remained unexplained for a long time. Okay, well, when I find something useful, I'll let you know. Oh, he says. All right. Well, see you later, bro.
Ready.
Okay, yeah, we've talked to everybody here. We have the mystery that we can solve for him at some point. Once we figure out how to solve it. Where's this ladder go? Metal rungs have been fastened to the side of the structure, extending into the darkness far below. I'm not ready to go down yet. Let's go check out another part of the city. Young man, said young man. Hello, Tranquility. A woman as tall and graceful as a willow steps forward to greet you. She bows, then looks down at you with warm, gold-flecked eyes. Welcome, she says, to Tranquility's Rest. I am the proprietress, Tranquility. Are you looking for a place to take your ease? Actually, kinda, yeah. All my stat pools are super low. As she speaks, a sense of delicious calm comes over you. You find yourself wanting to agree with her. There's nothing you'd like better right now than the peace and solitude of a quiet room. She sniffs the air. There's more to this woman's charms than long legs and sweet words. Oh, this is Callie saying this. She's giving off some kind of calming pheromone. Interesting. Forgive me for asking, but are you human? She laughs melodiously. No need for apologies. Given my height, it is a natural question. I am indeed human, a human mutant, and fortunate to live in Sega's Cliffs, where that is not a crime. There are very few places in this world where someone like me would even be allowed to clean a hostel, let alone own one. Well, tell me about the Tranquility's Rest. She smiles. It is the most peaceful inn in Sega's Cliff, with the most beautiful views. All rooms face outward, so that the bustle of the caravanserai, sure, is invisible and inaudible. All you see is sky and sea and the roofs of the city far below you. And all you hear is the breeze. I'm the sole owner, and I have been offering solitude, security, and discretion to travelers for 20 years. You will never have as sound a night's sleep as you will when you stay here. Your perfume seems to contain some kind of pheromones. Are you manipulating me? She smiles faintly. If calming can be said to be manipulating, I suppose I am, but it is nothing more than that. I cannot control minds or influence thoughts. My scent seems to relax people. That, and another trick I learned, convinced me that opening a hostel might lead to success. Could you use your calming abilities to put me into a trance? She looks bemused. No one has ever asked me something like this before, and normally I would refuse for fear of some complication, and perhaps retaliation for that. But I sense a certain affinity between us, a kindness we share. I don't think any harm will come of it. If you feel it will help you, I will do it. She reaches out to you. Now take my hands and close your eyes. As you take her hands, a scent like baking bread and honey overwhelms you. She begins to sing in a soft but resonant contralto. The melody fills your head, making it heavy with slumber, so that your chin drops to your chest. You feel like you're being lowered gently into a warm bath. The water closes over your head, but there is no fear of drowning. You've returned to the womb, where all is comforting darkness and the steady pulse of a beating heart. I'm interested to see what happens here. Hey, what's up, Spectre? The Spectre says, you're looking a lot more well-rested than you usually do. Has anything changed since last time I was here? Look around. It's your mind. Interesting. What should I do? Need to find this Matkina. She might know how to fix the chamber, but she's the only lead we have on who can. Yeah. That's true. It's true. Okay, well that's cool. So if we want to come back to the mind place.
On it. Yes.
Yeah, So that chick can get us back to our mind space. That's nice of her. Alright, well. Wonder how much she charges for that. Nothing in this life's for free. Got bills to pay. Got mouths to feed. Oh, no. Yeah, we're fine. Okay, so I think we want to take care of Tiber's quest before we actually sleep. You have a name. This robed man turns a golden bespeckled gaze and winning smile on you. He seems a charming enough sort, but it's clear he wants something from you and is perfectly willing to take it. Politely, and with absolute guile, of course. At last, he says. Someone who looks like they can see further than their nose. These Segasites are as observant as rocks. He clasps his hands together, pleading. Please, tell me you've seen a beautiful girl with purple hair. Her name is Persea. She is my beloved, but she suffers from a madness that causes her to fear everything. She can't stop running from imagined dangers, but I've been chasing her for, years now, trying to catch her and cure her before she hurts herself. Imagine, me, a danger to her? Why, I brought her back.
Making a note.
I recently tracked her here to Sega's Cliffs, but none of these blind fools can remember seeing her, even though I believe she stayed here for a time. He grips your arm. Let me give you a description so you'll know her. She is heartbreakingly beautiful, wears winged hair combs that float around her hair, constantly changing the arrangement of her purple hair. Please, if you see her or hear word of her, return and tell me. My name is Omadon, and I can be most generous. How did you and Percy meet? We are at the same grave in the Valley of Dead Heroes, a mutual friend, and in sharing stories of our love for that friend, we found that we were kindred spirits and decided we did not want to part when we left the valley. He smiles wistfully. Odd that a place of death could give birth to something so beautiful and undying. There's so much truth in that story. Details are irrelevant where there is love. And what caused Percy to go mad? He frowns, thoughtful. It is, I believe, some trauma associated with her birth or early life. We found that it could be overcome with love and care and certain medications, but even then, some lapses occur. It was during the last of these that Percy vanished. I have been on her trail ever since. I'm certain she will see clearly as soon as we are together. How exactly do you hope to cure Percy's madness? With love, mostly. But also with certain ancient techniques I have learned in my years of study for the cooling and untwisting of fevered and knotted minds. I'm positive that once I am able to isolate her from the corrupting distractions of the world, I will be able to restore her to her true self. Huh. Can you give me more details of Percy's appearance? As I said, she is hauntingly beautiful, with purple hair that floats around her head on winged combs. Her speech may seem confused, so pay no mind to what she says. It is only her madness talking. When she is returned to me, I will be able to cure her. What sort of things will Percy say when she's raving? Almost anything, but one of her most persistent delusions is that I am her enemy. Nothing could be further from the truth. When she is in her right mind, she loves me as I love her, but when her madness is upon her, his voice grows soft. It is more painful than truth can say. I would never hurt her. Must make her realize the truth. Simple, if I can find her. Alright, well, this guy could be very genuine, you know? He could be very genuine. Silver Orphans. These guys seem cool. The Silver Orphans. 2 silver humanoids stand near a small vehicle of indeterminate origin. Their skin has a reflective, metallic sheen that makes them appear both a part of and separate from the scenery around them. As you approach, both of them turn to face you. They have no mouths, and their eyes are a fathomless black, reflecting nothing. A name for these creatures rises from memory: Silver Orphans. It may not be the name by which they know themselves, but it is the name used by the Order of Truth. The Silver Orphans turn to stare at each other for several moments. Then the one on the right gestures at you in a complicated pattern. Minds of machines we seek. Know you any? Although you can't understand their gestures, you can hear their thoughts. Why do you seek the minds of machines? They stare at you impassively, as though they can't hear you at all. The one on the left kneels, using a foreshortened finger to trace lines and circles in the dust at your feet. Ripples radiate from a point, first a square, then a human eye, then an unrecognizable mass of interconnected dots. The Silver Orphan looks up at you, awaiting your reply. Any minds of machines, that we may find that which was lost. I guess I'll let you know if I find any machines. Good talk. Spherical pod is made of silvery metal, interlaced with ribbons of energy. That's cool. Ooh, examine. Packed bundles of sealed urns line the area into the city, or loaded onto a ship. A man in a brigandine coat stands in front of the heavy wooden gate. His arms are crossed, his feet firmly planted. You got business with the Memovira? No, I don't. Lucky for you, then. I'm looking for a tall, beautiful woman with purple hair. Ain't we all, he snorts. That lovestick Carker keeps asking me about his girlfriend, and I keep telling him the same thing. I ain't seen no purple-haired ladies. Truth is, if she did pass through here, she probably stopped at the inn. So if you want to find Miss Purplehair, that's where I'd start. It's on the other side of the door. A road goes down the side of the cliff toward the bloom. Nobody gets by me unless the boss lady gives the word. Alright, well, have a good day.
Yes.
Lots of merchants. Can I actually talk to them? No. Okay. Sailors? Sure, sure.
Yes.
Master Rinio. Well, hello. This airship master is keeping a nervous eye on his vessel. He is short and wiry man, dressed in travel-stained but well-kept clothing. He is chewing on his impeccably groomed mustache in frustration. As you approach, he turns away from his vessel. Welcome to Master Rinio's aerophile adventures. I'm afraid that I will not be departing anytime soon, not since the theft. He says the word carefully, as if holding it at bay. I've always taken pains to see the best in people, he confides, swallowing hard. But that was before that runty, glowing, straw-haired idiot stole the Coronet, my prized airship. He shakes his head, genuinely distraught. Until that thief is caught, my ship remains in dock, safely shuttered and chained. Tell me how your ship was stolen. Of course, he says, looking grateful that you've taken an interest in his plight. The vagrant asked to borrow my airship first, if you can believe that. I refused, of course, and as politely as possible. He shakes his head slowly, sorrow stealing into his face. I only looked away for a moment to sign some paperwork, and when I turned back, he was already in the air, waving from the railing. I can help you find him. That would be a great relief, he says, sighing. If you do stumble over him, bring him to me. I want to look the thief in the eyes and ask why he did this to me.
Remember that.
In the meantime, what can Master Rinio's aerophile adventures do for you? Can you remind me what the airship thief looked like? Shorter fellow with blonde hair and a thin build. He's also glowing. Master Rinio scowls. Should have known what he was planning. Oh, I've seen his type before. Reckless, thrill seekers. I've never understood them. He nibbles on his thinning mustache. You seen a purple-haired lady? Purple, you say? I cannot say that I have. But I've also been preoccupied of late. As you might imagine, my apologies. Tell me about yourself. The tiniest smile creases his face. I'm the proprietor of this business, and a ship's captain. In happier times, I ran a fleet of vessels to various ports of call. He shrugs. These are not happier times, and my fleet has been reduced. Now I have but a single vessel. Such is life. You build for your family, and the vicissitudes of fate drive your plans into the rocks. But my struggling enterprise is the least of the gifts I hope to bequeath to my heirs. I try to teach them dedication, endurance, fairness in all dealings. Shoves his hands into his pockets. What good would it do them to see me take unfair advantage? I would rather be ruined than teach them that falsity is the route to success. He laughs softly. My apologies. This has been much on my mind of late. You did not ask about my philosophy. Where do you travel? Once I flew as far as Agarkala. Soaring above Arvin Wood. Arvin? That's okay. Just use words. Arvin Wood. In the unmeasured depths of Ornu Lake. Above the lava fields of Osifafag and the plains beyond. I flew south over the ruins of the Tabat homelands and east to the oasis of Mrajolios. He gestures at his single vessel. Now I fly solely to the Valley of Dead Heroes, conveying mourners and memorialists to the unchanging tombs. Things will turn around one day, I'm sure. In the meantime, we have honest work and food to eat.
Making a note.
Of course, I'm not flying anywhere at the moment, not while the thief who stole my other airship walks free. Can you tell me about this area of the city? Steeped in history, my friend, and you've come to the right man to ask about it. He adjusts his clothes and stands taller. This was once a staging ground against our foes, the Tabat. Our ancestors could observe the approaching enemy from here and direct their forces to meet them. They say that the defense was commanded from up there. He points toward a rocky outcrop on the far side of the plateau. Now, instead of a place of war, it serves as a place of commerce, built for the good of all, both ourselves and our foreign guests. Sagus Cliffs sits atop a great hoard of Numenera and does a thriving business in the stuff. We import foods, spices, textiles, and visitors from far-off lands. They arrive from Agarkala, Austria, and Hayrest, among many, many others. My friend, this is a focal point of commerce in the Sagus Protectorate. He smiles. I play a small but proud part. Cool. Well, have a good time, buddy.
Yes.
Maybe we'll find your thief. Alright, nothing to do there. The background art here is real cool.
On my way.
Not taken to the air tonight, are ya? It's a bad night for it. What's going on here? Driftwood held aloft by suspension platforms provide a useful, if somewhat perilous, bridge between the dock and the ships moored in the dock area. Interesting. That sounds dangerous, and I love it.
Coming. Ready. Fair enough.
Food what? This craft is capable of carrying one person, 2 at most. The interior is richly appointed with satin pillows, and the air feels cooler inside. Hello, sir, whose name I cannot pronounce. Man. This scrawny old man practically rattles inside dull and dented armor that was clearly made for someone bigger than him. Nonetheless, his eyes burn with a bottomless fire, and his smile, as fierce as it is genuine, flashes beneath his graying thicket of a beard. Another night, he bellows, clapping your shoulders with his gauntleted hands. You barely keep your feet. The man is stronger than he looks. Another hero in search of great adventure. You stand before the wandering knight, Q del Toboso. What brings you to the summit of Mount Ithador? He is armed like a knight, though he carries himself strangely. Why did you call this Mount Ithador? It's a city, not a mountain. A city, he says, his sweet-beaded brow drawing together. Sweat-beaded, not sweet, that's gross. Your senses must have deserted you in the ascent. The heat has baked you in your armor. He lays a gentle hand on your shoulder, turning you to the horizon. Do not allow delirium to blind you to your accomplishments, good knight. You have scaled the very heights of Mount Ithador, the tooth of the world beast. Adventure lies in every shadow below us. Every sparkle of light is a quest, ready for the taking. Yeah, cool. What brings you up here, bruh? Do you know, he says, that I am not quite sure? My memory is not what it was. I recall kneeling before my family's armor in our estate some time ago. He blinks slowly. Perhaps I was weeping? He smashes his gauntlet against his chest, leaving a sizable dent. I don't recall, and it doesn't matter. For then I heard a thunderous roar and beheld a great beast in the skies. I donned my armor and gave chase. Yeah, your armor looks kind of used there, bruh. Yes, he says, nodding proudly. It has seen some use. My ancestor forged it in the fires of Silver Cloud Mountain for her battle against the hordes. This was the wound that killed her. He taps a much-mended spot on the chest plate. In fact, many of my ancestors died in this armor. It served them well. Sure, what kind of beast was it? It defied description, he declares, and so I shall describe it to defy impossibility itself. 13 legs, 6 jaws, 1,000 eyes a-glitter with malice and flame, scales the color of clouds. Yeah, go on. The horrible beast leered down at me, promising destruction. I promised it death, and it fled across the sky. I followed, darting between the trees. He pauses, frowning. I don't recall much after that. I remember walking, having various adventures along the way, of course, but I cannot quite recall why I came here. Ha! He says, raising a finger. Of course, I must have had the frankly brilliant notion of scaling this lonely mountain to better spot the beast from afar. He shakes his head, his wispy beard waggling. Alas, I've seen nothing so far. Yeah, your beast seems like a cloud, and I think you ran into a tree. A cloud, he says, chuckling. A tree! The perils facing us in this world of wonders are not so mundane. Others once spoke like him. I wish I could have saved them from the beast. All right, well, I guess so. I think I could add this guy to my party. I think for now we're gonna say, see you later, bro.
I'm going.
Spend your experience points. I have experience points? Oh, well, I should definitely spend my experience points. Select one of the following options to spend your experience points. You can select each option once per tier. Increase stat pools.
My understanding has increased.
Oh, so they just like flat have nothing. Interesting. Cool. Very cool.
Fair enough.
Let's go down the stairs to the bar. You look like you have a name. This pretty young woman stands unnaturally still. Suddenly, her large glassy eyes spring to life with a rattle and quickly lock with yours, before just as quickly snapping away. Her skin, as fair as porcelain, is cracked beneath several layers of dirt and faded makeup. And on the side of her neck, you see what appears to be a small tattoo of vertical lines with glyphs etched at the bottom. For a moment, familiarity overwhelms you, disappearing as a minute shudder runs down her arms. Her gaze snaps back to your face, but not to your eyes. She's staring at your tattoo. Jerkily, her hand rises to touch her own. Well met. I am called Sylph. You note the slight pause before she pronounces her name? Man, my throat. Her voice has a purring quality under which you can hear the spinning of countless gears. She coughs, just once, and a small greenish cloud emerges from between her lips. How did you come by that mark? It's him. Or is. Let's try to remember things. You hear an echo of yourself and see in front of you a strange old man, gnarled by time and rabid with expectation. On his neck, weathered and sagging, you see the same series of vertical lines etched into his skin, a faded map to a time or a place that no longer exists. An inadmissible period of time has elapsed without an answer. Conclusion. I will rephrase the question, she says as the memory fades. How did you come to have those marks upon your skin? I'm a cast off of the Changing God. You hear an excited clicking, and her eyes flutter closed briefly. I appreciate your honesty, she says, the manic working of gears sounding from deep within her chest. She regards you, head tilting to the side, with a series of small, ratcheting noises. You have the absurd impression the motion is meant to be flirtatious. I hope you will answer another question for me. Her voice takes on a more eloquent tone, deeper and richer than you've heard from her before. I wonder if you might have heard this old riddle before. She clears her throat and begins as if reciting from memory. Oop. What comes in with breath and out with a word, transmutes upon death but can't be conferred. The words sound vaguely familiar, resonating in your mind even after she stopped speaking. Old. Ha! It's what you've done for centuries. You told me. What comes in with breath, out with a word, transmutes upon death, but can't be converted? Isn't it just life? Life makes the most sense, I think. Try to remember where you've heard the riddle before. You listen again to her words, feel the echo and weight of them moving in your mind. You see Sylph garbed in the robes of an Aeon priest, her face in shadow. But when the riddle comes, it's in your voice, not hers, and the rhyme is different. It arrives with first breath and leaves with each word, transfigured by death unless it's conferred. In your mind, Sylph replies in a deeper, melodious tone, consciousness. It isn't until you surface from the memory to find Sylph staring at you that you realize you spoke the word aloud. Well, Sylph sounds pleased, still speaking in that deeper voice. Perhaps you can be of use to me after all. I'm dying over here, don't worry about it. Man. Gross. There's one final question I would ask you, she says, face and hands unusually still. Please answer to the best of your abilities. A reading game, not a great choice for me today. What would you do if you met someone who had succeeded at your life's work before you, and they refused to share their method? I think I would find my own method. Yet you've failed, haven't you? These cast-offs you make, each an imperfect shell, each an undying monument to your failure. Wow. She laughs at the look on your face. It's not a pleasant sound. And to think all those years ago you had the audacity to call yourself a god. Look at me, look at this. She spreads her arms and turns in a circle, clearly intending you to see every angle of her body. This is the pinnacle of a lost civilization, she gloats, the void between her eyes replaced with fervent, furious madness. My perfect, immortal vessel, and I'm the one who discovered it. Me. She spits bright green froth that lands in the dust at your feet. That to your help. My methods are beyond your comprehension, and I'm going to make sure they stay that way. The light fades from her eyes as suddenly as it arrived. She blinks at you with a chittering of decaying cogs, folding her hands in front of her and executing a small bow. I do not know what transpired, she says. Please accept my apologies. Let's examine her to see what we know of. Oh, never mind. This is not. Hold on. Yay, we succeeded. Oh, no, back. Success. You study her cracked porcelain skin, the way her joints are covered by the seams in her clothing, and what once must have been a remarkably pretty face. You recall a fragment of ancient machine history discovered by your sire in a place called the Wheel of Baz. Automatons like Sylph were created in many different shapes to please their owners, no two alike, all handcrafted and unique. Only a few survivors were known to the machine minds of Baz, and those went for sale to the highest bidder. The sharp edge of disappointment, you recall walking away from Sylph when she was offered to you, passing a sneering man in dark robes who had already made an offer. His presence overwhelms the memory with a sudden understanding of who and what stands in front of you. Eden, an obsessive Aeon priest who made it his personal mission to track the changing god to the ends of this world, searching for a way to transfer his self into vessels of his choosing. Sure. It seems he succeeded, at least partially, but one look at Sylph's decaying body tells you that he has merely exchanged one prison for another, with no hope of salvation anytime soon. Hey buddy, you in there? She slowly blinks her eyes. One of them fails to reopen completely. I am Sylph. Have you mistaken me for someone else? Alright, well, catch you later. Technology that suspends the tables prevents them from being easily flipped, dragged, or moved. Given the location, this is probably a good thing. Tarnak Hobbs. This man's brow is creased with worry. He avoids your gaze, his eyes fixed on a point to your left and far away. His trembling, battered fingers pluck at the air. He stares through the chattering customers, the bar, as though he is utterly alone. Stepping closer, you see a thick, blue crease running down his throat into the depths of his heavy robes. and orderly rows of azure holes pierce his bony arms from elbow to wrist. Discord, he says as you approach. Scarred melody, too many voices, hurts. His words stream out one by one in a subdued and continuous monotone, tumbling over each other as if in a blind rush to escape. Hey man, what's going on? Wayfarers bring me broken Numenera. I repair them for pay. I need to eat, he cries, and you don't think you're the target of his anger. The Wayfarers thank me, he says, swallowing. They do not know I have remade their Numenera. They do not know they will also be remade. All will be remade when the choir awakens. Okay, but like, what's going on? He does not meet your eyes as you step closer to examine him. Instead, he winces, as though your presence has somehow painful to him. You watch him move and track the twitching of his fingertips. You hear a low, vibrating whistle, though it is not coming from his mouth. Yeah, okay, cool, bro. Catch you later. What's this go to?
Yes.
Oh, Finzen's yelling at us. Yes, Finzen? Everything about this slender young man says, thug, from his scar-slashed eyebrows to the calloused hand hovering over his hip where a dagger would hang. But he doesn't have one. Instead, flour cakes his hands, and a single apron string hangs from his pocket. He's apparently a baker. Stand still, you shine, he says, and peers over your shoulder. You follow his gaze to an armored soldier who is loitering in the public square. That levy's been following me for days. Can't even stop for a piss without checking side to side. You sure he's following you? Put it like this, he says, licking his lips. I know when I'm being followed. I've seen him on my track from dawn to dark for 3 days. I ain't done anything wrong. And it's worse than that, he says, wringing his hands. That's my levy. Why is it worse that your levy is following you? Having a levy on your track is bad enough, right? But if he was made from a year of your life, he knows where you bed down, maybe, what you're thinking. He groans, rubbing his eyes. That's worse. That's much worse. Look, he won't leave me alone, right? I gave a year of my life to make him, and I thought that was that. Now I catch him standing in the street outside the bakery, whispering to himself, playing with that carving of his. His teeth graze his lip as he leans closer. He even tried to talk to me. Levies ain't supposed to know who they came from, right? They ain't supposed to know who you are. He wavers, gathering his courage. Could you talk to him? Find out what he wants? Sure, I'll talk to your levy. He nods again toward the armored man who's standing a distance away in the public square. He's the only levy in this district, so you can't miss him. Plus, he ain't smiling like all the others, and he's holding some charred wooden thing in his hands.
I'll remember that.
Need anything else? No, I'm good.
All right.
Tormented levy. This levy is not like the others you have seen. The wide smile is absent, and his oddly shaped eyes are red, wet, and haunted. He stares past you, whispering to himself and turning a small charred object over and over in his hands. He appears to be looking for someone, and having spoken to Finzen, you can imagine who. The aura of shame around him is so powerful that you can practically taste it. What are you holding there? He says, then grimaces as though his words hurt him. I'm holding my shame. His hands unfold, one bloody, soot-covered finger at a time. A crudely made wooden bird lies there, painted in pinks and pale blues, and charred around the edges. A bird represents your shame? Represents? No. This is my shame, and I'm holding it. He swallows. I can't put it down. Fenzin sent me to find out why you're following him. Yes, he says, the despair melting away. In that moment, he looks like a child, with a child's desperate hope. He knows too, doesn't he? He sees what he did, what we did. Tears leak from his eyes, trailing down into his mouth as he continues. When the machine ripped the year from him to make me, I felt the choices unraveling before me. He hugs himself. I see them coming. None of it can be changed.
Making a note.
Tell him this, for me. The Gillam Manor job did happen. A servant caught him, called the levies, they chased him, and he set a fire. His eyes squeezed shut. The spire threat spread through the neighborhood. People were trapped. People screamed. His hand clenches over the charred toy bird in his palms with a soft crunch. Please, tell him. Tell him I'm with him in the dark, hiding from the mobs. Sobbing. Tell him to give me a different year. A better one. What kind of year do you want from Fenzin? A year without the blackened door, he says earnestly. Without the hand tangled in the grate, the weeping in the dark places. Silent tears stream down his face. He doesn't seem to be aware of them. Wails rising with the glowing ashes. My arms bound with ragged rope. Every time I'm there, in those last minutes, I tried to apologize, but my mouth... His fingertips brush at his lips. My mouth is full of dirt and blood. All right, cool. I'll go check with him.
Yes.
Hey, buddy, your levy's crazy. Did you find out anything? He asks, eyes darting around to check on the distant levy. Yeah, he mentioned a job. He what? Fenzin says, going pale. Keep your voice down. You tell anyone else about this? No? Good. He lowers his voice. I have to be unspecific about this, understand? Before I became a citizen, I wasn't a nice person. I took things for money, and just a few weeks ago, certain people told me they wanted me to rob the manor. He grimaces, rubbing his neck. I was going to do it, but then I became a citizen, gave up a year of my life to create the levy. That levy. Something changed, he says, frowning. All of a sudden, I couldn't get the dangers out of my head. How thick the levy patrols were, or how the captain herself was looking into one of my older adventures. He plays with the apron strings hanging from his pocket. So I canceled the job and started working on my aunt's bakery. Never did the Gillam job, and that's the truth. The levy is seeing what would have happened if you did the job. He wants another year from you.
I'll remember that.
Oh, I get it, he says, rolling his eyes. It's a shakedown. Give me a year or tell them what you did. Well, I ain't done anything, and I never killed anyone, and I don't owe him nothing. I can't keep handing out years like they're free. Based on what he said, it sounds like becoming a citizen saved your life. And that was my decision, not his.
Making a note.
He groans. I'd go up to Government Square and tell the captain of levies what he's up to if I had any way of explaining it. Hey, your levy is following me around. I think it's because he's haunted by my criminal past. What would telling the captain of levies do? Levies ain't supposed to follow their citizens around. They ain't supposed to get all weepy either. Telling the captain would take care of the problem for sure, but I ain't about to try it myself. Shrugs. You want to try talking to her? She's in Government Square. Eh, sure. I'll see what I can do.
Ready.
Aiden. Sit-a-boo. The large, muscled man is practicing some form of martial art as you look on. He's wearing an old, white, rough-woven coat with the sleeves torn off and a red bandana is wrapped tightly around his head. He seems to be moving much faster than his size suggests as possible. He glides between stances as swiftly as water. His fists are blurring hammers, striking at invisible enemies. His bare, calloused feet snap and slash at the air like knives. Have you seen a young girl with dark curly hair? I don't know why I'm looking for this girl, but you know. Yes, he says, bowing his head. I've seen her, crawling out of a fissure in one of the collapsed houses in this district. She is likely hiding, but I did not pry into her affairs. Where did you learn to fight like that? By challenging the deadliest creatures and studying their killing blows, he says. I lack claws or teeth, but I do the best I can. You're very fast. Yes, Haydn says. The Drebel's gift. His hand slips around an invisible assailant's arm. He snaps it with a stab of his elbow, then crushes his enemy's throat and flips him over his shoulder to the ground. Chrysanthemum array, he shouts, spinning over the invisible adversary's corpse to deliver a triangle of jabs to the chest of his next attacker. The entire set of moves took no longer than 4 seconds. He catches you staring and smiles. You must be wondering why I'm shouting. Yeah, sorta. I'm not surprised. I must look like a lunatic, he says, before spearing his opponent's jugular with 3 fingers. Canthid thrust. It helps me focus my breathing, my strength, and will. It reminds me of how weak I once was, and how strong I've become. Years ago, I was a starving baker. I managed to steal a wedge of pie crust and was terrified that someone else would take it from me, so I hid inside that metal structure over there to enjoy my feast. Bite of the hidden queeb, he says, clawing his enemy's eyes. The stale crust crumbled into pieces between my eager fingers, and something strange happened. They drifted toward the ground like the softest of snowflakes. I was able to pluck each of them from the air before they fell. At first I was delighted, then I wept. How far had I fallen that clean food was a miracle? He sighs, then delivers 4 more blows to the air's belly. But the miracle never ended. The longer I lived in that shelter, the more I could slow the world by concentrating. I swore to never waste this gift. I would honor it by becoming stronger, faster. I would challenge the predators of the world and take their killing blows from them. I would never be prey again. Grush thump. Huh. I'm definitely not faster. Alright, well, see you later.
All right.
These 3 triangles float serenely above a scuffed basin. Can't help noticing that the citizens of Sagus are giving this monument a wide berth. The largest triangle shines brightly, radiating a soothing warmth. The middle, darker one hovers above it, turned slightly away from the first, with what strikes you as disdain. The third is small, dryly amused, and so deeply indigo as to be nearly black. It's removed from the first 2 triangles. You hesitate. You were sensing emotions from these objects. Intent. Something is strange here. Let's touch the large triangle, huh? You reach out and time slows. Your hand drifts past individual motes of light, dappled dust, moving into the warm glow of the large triangle. Calm warmth bleeds up your arm when you grasp the edge of the triangle. It's somehow rigid and flexible at the same time. You blink, swaying. In the half second before you open your eyes, you hear the thunderous crack of wood on wood and the rumble of distant voices. You snatch your hand from the triangle. Study the medium-sized triangle. Staring at this triangle is disorienting. The longer you stare at it, the more you feel a tight, coiling sensation in your own head. Standing on your toes and stretching, you manage to brush the triangle's icy face with your finger. The air thickens like a weight over you, and you struggle to keep your eyes open. Between the thumping of your heartbeat, you hear thousands of purposeful, rhythmic footsteps treading endless stairs toward the peak of a vast, echoing room. Examine the smallest triangle. The tiny object spins slightly faster than the others. The more you stare at it, the more you sense a growing presence in the air, the icy regard of distant eyes. You blink, and a strip of light unwinds ahead of you, like a path through infinite, murmuring dark. Behind you is an ever-shifting zoetrope of linked, motionless U's. It is your past, you realize, every second of it, every choice pouring out of you and trailing away into the black. You open your eyes. You're back at the stone ring, still touching the triangle. All 3 of them are watching you. You blink again. The strip of light, the surrounding darkness, and in the valley between, the slow pulsing of your heart. You hear the murmurs of countless witnesses, the raised voices of your past and future companions, the heated condemnations of your enemies you haven't met. And above it all, a trio of voices, one warm, one cold, and one dryly practical. They are speaking a verdict, but you can't hear them over the din. Shout for silence so you can hear the judges. You bellow into the dark, clenching your fists, and the crowd instantly falls silent. So do the judges. In the echoing silence that follows, you realize that you are alone. You always were. You stride on. The path unravels before your eyes. Your past unspools behind you. Yeah, sure, let's see where the path leads. You follow the road. Casually, you look to the right, and the path at your feet flickers, as if anticipating your new direction. Clearly, your choice is to find this road's course and not the other way around. You open your eyes, the three triangles hang in the air exactly as they did before, unmoving and silent. The vision is gone, and yet you can still feel the choices you've made, curving away behind you like a string of jewels. You straighten, moving into the future breath by breath. You suddenly notice a message carved into the stone ring beneath the triangles. Judge yourself. As you watch, it slowly fades away. Let's crouch to look at the stone basin. The stone is cracked in places, but far newer than the ancient shapes that float above. You suspect that the citizens of Sagus added the basin to make the triangles look less out of place. Cool. That's fun.
Of course.
Loss of self. That sounds interesting.
We shall see.
Updated structure has been converted into a cheap boarding house. Inside, people are sprawled on filthy mattresses.
Fine.
Yes. We take the money. I'm gonna save that money. This young woman clutches herself and growls, low and continuously, under her breath. Pearly white light shimmers from a vial on her wrist, and her eyes are red-rimmed, as if she's been crying. You've never seen her before, and yet. Your hands are sweating, and your breath catches in your inherited chest. Shame burns your throat, hot and sour. Your body recognizes her, even if you do not. This isn't you. Only I am real. You don't need to fight me. Leave me alone, she mutters, and it's a moment before you realize she's not talking to you. You took my face, stole my family, whisper at me in my own voice. Isn't that enough? Isn't that? She breaks off when she sees you. She's in my head, and she won't shut up. Talk loud. Talk over her so I can hear you.
Making a note.
Let's describe Rin. The little girl? I've seen her crawling into the ruined house over there. I've been worried about her, but she gives you a wry grin. I've had my own problems lately. You hear a woman in your head? Yes, she says, biting the word like an enemy's throat. Now stop talking about her. It brings her forward, and she clings. She whines, and she won't stop, so please stop talking about her. I'm not some woman. I am you. Please let me in. What's that shining object you're holding? She flinches, but reveals the vial strapped to her wrist. It glows with an inner light, and the tiny ripples within seem to cast moving shadows on her palm. I woke up one night in a building I'd never seen before, she says soft and low. I found this beneath a pile of blackened scales. If you shake it, it makes a picture. Watch. She jiggles the vial and holds up her other hand. Indistinct shadows mimic the motion on her palm. Okay, but why are you holding on to it? Because I feel like it was mine, she blurts, then grimaces, as if the words escaped without her permission. At any rate, it's mine now, and I don't need more of a reason than that. It's mine. I don't need any more of a reason than that. I don't feel like lying to her. I want to hear about the woman in your head. No, every time I think about her, she inches closer to me, pulls on my arm. Stop asking about her, please. Closer. You want to let me in. Why fight me? Alright, well, I'll catch you later.
I'm ready.
Hope it all works out. So Rin's supposed to be in here, yeah? This has been a WeakT Gaming video. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, punch the little notification bell, maybe give us a like or a comment, and you know what? You have a nice day.